Today, we're going to hit rewind on old Gus and go all the way back to the beginning and what almost killed our 20-year dream. And if you read the title, you know the answer is insurance. However, don't swipe away. If you're subscribed, I'm actually going to go back to the beginning and actually tell the whole story of how I acquired the coach. From insurance, all the craziness, it was an absolute crazy story. We're going to go back to that, but if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's get into it. Trust me, this is not going to be a boring video about insurance. This is actually going to be about all the craziness that led up to this point where we are with Coach and actually what it took to get the wheels on the bus to go round and round, as somebody said in the comments of one of the other videos. In no way is this legal advice. We're going to go through insurance. We're also going to go into how to title a coach to turn it from a coach to a motorhome. And if you need any more information, hit me up, email me. I'm going to put a lot of stuff in the descriptions. But yeah, let's get into some story time. All right, because YouTube is everlasting, right? It goes on forever. This could be, 5 years from down the road. August of 24. I'm 40 years old, midlife crisis, full blown, and I figure out how to do what I've been wanting to do for 20 years financially, right? I figure out the money side of it. I wanted to in 2020 whenever all the buses were cheap, and it just didn't really sit well. Finally figured out, so hey, it's go time, right? And the one thing I was trying to figure out is how do I get the coach to the house, right? Few little things. First off, it's a commercial vehicle. Got to have a CDL, right? So I found a coach in Orlando we wanted to go look at, and I called a DOT officer. Basically, I called the DOT office. They put me in touch with an officer. He called me back, which I thought was really amazing and weird all in the same breath. And y'all, just to give a testimony, it was the craziest experience I've ever had. Get on the phone with this officer. We're talking, the logistics of moving a bus, commercial vehicle. He gave me his thoughts. He called another DOT officer later on and kind of gave some clarity, got back with me, so on and so forth. We talked for over 2 hours. I prayed with him. It was a pretty wild story. Just kind of the stuff they were going through, not like nothing terrible, but just, really, seeking the Lord and what that looked like. And it was wild, y'all. Anyway, made a new friend. Really needed him actually in this process. So fast forward, he tells me, and this is, like I said, not legal advice, but this is what he came to the conclusion, him and another officer. He was one of 3 officers that could do a coach inspection in the state of Florida. He said that as long as I'm not transporting more than 15 people, or really the ability. So his suggestion was to keep me totally clean and out of the weeds was to buy the coach and pull half the seats out, all except for what, the capacity was about 15, right? And then I should be good to go. It is private, so on and so forth. Sweet. Fast forward to another week or so later, me and my mom decided to go to Orlando and look at a bus. Just because y'all don't want to see me sit on the couch and just have a conversation with y'all. And plus, I talk a lot better whenever we're moving around because I don't know if y'all know this by now, but none of this is scripted. This is all no chat GPT here, guys. If you want the real deal, this is what's up. So let's have a conversation. I roll with me and my mom. She's always up for an adventure. Hey, let's go to Orlando. Let's go look at a bus. We go down to Orlando. We go to look at the bus, and we get stuck in Miami Airport for 8 hours. It was, and there was one little tidbit that I did not figure out beforehand, which was the insurance. I kind of had an idea, but I really didn't know all the ins and outs, and I hadn't really nailed it down. And I thought I could call that day. It was on a Saturday, my bad, and get it all nailed down. Not the case. Farthest from the truth, actually. So I spent 8 hours in the airport, pacing the airport, trying to figure out the insurance side of it to no avail. And I will say that was quite literally the Lord's grace on my life to spare me from doing something stupid. I had money in my hand. I was ready to drive a bus home. I mean, I was on it. Well, we get we finally go, land in Orlando. It's late. And I told mom, I said, it doesn't matter. I can't do the insurance side of it anyway. I was like, let's just skip it. No big deal. We'll just go on home, call it a wasted trip, whatever. She said, no, we need to go at least go look at the bus. And it was late. Gosh, it was late, y'all. And so we went and looked at the bus. Yeah, That was the biggest hunk of junk. If you see anything, and I don't mind blasting this dude, um, from Arndt Bagel in Orlando, stay as far away from you as you can, and I'll tell you why. I look at this bus; it's rusted to pieces, and I had done a Zoom call. It wasn't like I just went down there blind on whatever. Done a Zoom call, looked okay. I turned around and said, "No, we're good." Um, Went to the house, and I'll finish that side of the story. Anyway, a couple months later, a month or so later, I see on a forum, hey, I'm looking at this bus in Orlando and all this stuff, and I messaged the guy just to tell y'all the kind of character that I have, right? I messaged the guy, I said, hey man, that isn't from Orlando, like Aren't, is it? And he's like, yeah, it is. And I did a Zoom call and it's all good. I literally said, hey man, I need call me. Here's my phone number. Call me. And so I got on the phone with him, talked to him for about probably 30, 45 minutes, and just said, hey dude, um, you don't want that bus. You do not want that bus. And he said, man, I'm getting a deal. And I said, listen, if you're getting a deal and it'll make it to Massachusetts from Orlando, maybe, right? Well, he does the deal, and within a week of that deal, he's blasting it on Facebook that he got to it. And I'm like, oh, jeez. And he goes, man, later on, he said, man, I should listen to you. I said, dude, it is what it is. He got in a bad way. That happened. Such is life. Okay. So fast forward our story. Um, we are in Orlando, and I am distraught. I am just heartbroken. I'm not coming home with the bus. And we get I just got tired. I mean, we've been going since like 4 that morning, and it got about 8 o'clock that night. I said, Mom, we're going to have to shut it down. And we were in Live Oak, Florida, and we stopped and got a hotel. And my mom is, like I said, always up for an adventure. And she said, hey, let's go look at campers. This obviously is not going to work. Let's go look at campers. And so we did. And y'all, they wanted $90,000 for a 2 bunk, 35 foot with a gas burner with a leak in it. $90,000, y'all. And I'm like, man, this just blew my mind, absolutely. So went home, started doing some research on insurance. Let's dig into that. So insurance. I spent the next week looking at insurance and trying to figure out if it was even possible. And let me tell you what I learned in the airport and also that following week. That if you have a MCI, a yellow bus, school bus or anything like that, it's actually easier because I think it's American General. It's the same one that owns Good Sam's. It's an Allstate. That whole deal. They will write anything except Prevost or Newell. And let me say that there's also some other companies. And I will be vague today because if you will learn how much it took for me to get this insurance. That I'm not going to like name drop. Oh, I've got this insurance. This. I will name drop some, but I'm gonna be vague too, and I'm sorry. And if you really have, hey, I need insurance, I need a little bit more understanding, dude, just email me. I will gladly tell you who I'm with, and so on and so forth. And not that I have anything to hide. I don't even want to change the policy, y'all. It took so much to get this thing. So insured. So anyway, they will do basically when I was at the airport, the lady said, hey, if you do an MCI, so I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to do a J4500. And y'all, I have looked at Prevost. I knew that that was the coach I wanted for a myriad of reasons. And maybe, hey, if that's a video that y'all want to see, like all the reasons why I chose the Prevost, I think I've done a pretty decent job of explaining why. But if not, if that's another video idea, hit it in the comments. Say, yeah, that's something I'd love to see. Anyway, she says if you do a J4500, which makes no sense to me, no sense to me, y'all, because a J4500 is just a Prevost H345 with a different brand name on it. It's like a Ford and a Chevy. It makes no sense. Insurance companies. Anyway, um, I did come up with 2 to 3 options, and I told myself, as I'm like praying through it, and like, Lord, do I even buy? I can't buy a Prevost. Why would I buy a Prevost? I can get it insured, can't get it on the road. So I decided that if I could find at least 2, hope at least 2, maybe 3 insurers, I would go ahead and buy a coach. Anyway, I found that many. I'll just say it that way. So everything's good. We're good to go, right? Um, sort of. So the next week after, so went to Orlando week. The next week I was on vacation. I asked my 10-year-old, I said, hey man, you want to go on a road trip? Because he is the kid that we went on a road trip one other time, and he's like, "Do you remember that time we stayed in the hotel and whatever?" I said, "Hey, bud, you want to do that again? Let's go." Yes. So we drove to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I hope y'all see the hand of the Lord on this, because drove all the way to Raleigh, North Carolina, and on the way I called a guy in Atlanta. I was like, "Hey, man," and he couldn't meet me, so we went on up to Raleigh. The bus wouldn't start. Like they're like, "We don't understand. This thing always starts, and this is the best bus we have." And I'm going, and what it was, I found it later. It actually had the fire suppression system had the bus shut down, so it would not crank. Anyway, wild story on that. I knew I could get that one at a pretty decent price too. So I rolled back through and actually found this one. Well, I knew for insurance and CDL, especially across state lines at this point, I had to get it delivered. So we negotiated, and I will make a video. I promise. It's just going to take a lot of effort, but on how much we have in this coach. And I said, "Hey, man, how much to get it delivered?" He offered to deliver it. In rolls the last video where he rolls down the road September 11th. We buy it, and I knew I had 30 days to quote get it titled and all the things. And so I waited to even try the insurance because I knew there was going to be some stipulations, right? But let's get into the insurance side of it and what I've learned for the interim between whenever you buy the coach and actually have it converted. All right, there is this elusive unicorn, and that's what it is. It's called a commercial for private use policy. If you start researching how to get your coach bus um, insured and all that, that's going to be the common forum theme, right? Like you need a commercial for private use. They're out there, but boy, are they a pain in the rear end to find. The company I'm with, I kid you not, guys. So we bought in September. I had a vacation in May. I am just bent on making it to Kentucky in May in my bus. That was like, I've got a bus, we're going to knock it out, do all the things. It took me that whole time, minus probably the first 30 days because we were just dismantling and demo and everything. It took us every bit of that time to get insurance. So here's what happened. I would go in, I would get the insurance situated, I would do everything, get kicked back from underwriter. So first time was, oh well, first time was a clerical error. Second time was like, oh well, we need insurance, or excuse me, we need a CDL. He's got to have a CDL. I said, no, I don't because of this. I got my DOT friend, from the first part of the video, I got him to actually write a letter from his, or an email, excuse me, from his, you know, FSH, whatever, the state account. And that underwriter still would not give me the policy. I'm like, dear Lord, this is crazy. I can't even, because I needed to drive the bus. You guys, you can't let a bus sit. You just can't. You're going to wind up with just crazy issues. Don't do it. Drive your bus. Drive it, drive it, drive it. So finally, okay, we submit the email. No, we didn't like that. They give you 30 days cancel policy. We submit it, 30 days cancel policy. We did that 3 to 4 times. It was insane to get this policy. And um, let's flip over to the title side of things. After probably 45 days, a month and a half, 2 months of having the coach, what you have to do, and like I said, I'll talk about this in a second, but you actually have to sign an affidavit saying that you have 110 electrical installed, plumbing, or LP gas for you to get title from changed from a commercial vehicle to a motorhome. Um, I had installed enough of that at that point to where my conscience was perfectly clear. I had done that. It was, the bus was gutted. There was framing, there was electrical, there was plumbing. And so I went ahead and applied for that title. Went ahead and got that. So at this point, by the third or fourth time, it is titled as a motorhome. I have a tag, so on and so forth. They still would not write the policy. We'll walk down the other side of the bus this time. So we finally got far enough on the bus conversion side enough to where we were already past the state requirements, but we actually, so the insurance company, to get it titled, or excuse me, insured as a motorhome, you needed a few different things. You needed a working sink and kitchen area. They wanted a living area, a bathroom, and some sort of living quarters, right? Like as far as bed and stuff like that. So that's what I was to that point. So we did that, and right before, guys, I'm talking about like literally a week or two before May, we finally got the thing underwritten enough to where it was bound and not just the whole like, well, it's just not bound. But you've got insurance, but it's just not bound. It's like, y'all, it was the craziest, wildest story. I do have contacts. I've got stuff written down. So if you need a little bit more direction on the insurance side of things, just hit me up. I will gladly point you in the best direction I can. This is for the state of Florida. Do want to make that known. But the insurance was a royal pain in the butt. I know Progressive would have wrote me a commercial for private use policy. There's an insurance agency up in Michigan. They said flat out, "Hey, we can write you whatever." And they did have some options. Um, but I will say this: don't fudge on the insurance. I know one person was like, "Oh, well, we got Progressive," but the kicker is this. I did not mention this. This is the kicker. If it is a self-converted coach, that's where it gets sticky, y'all. If it's self-converted, then certain insurance companies will not touch it. So, and all I was looking for was liability anyway. So let's jump over to the title part real quick. We've been cleaning up around the house, trying to get some stuff together where we can have a worship night at our house. Just give you all a little glimpse of that. So title. As I stated, it was actually really simple. And a lot of people are like, man, how does that even work? Like, what is that? Oh, it's a commercial. You got to have CDL. Well, in the state of Florida, I know every state is different, but in the state of Florida, when you get it titled as a motorhome, the CDL requirement goes away. So you are good. You can drive a motorhome, even with air brakes, even over 26,000 pounds, so on and so forth. Where like I said, I've got the affidavit stuff, and I may put it up on the screen. I may not. Let's see if I can not if I can locate that. I've got the email from a DOT lady. She said, "Here, this is all you got to do. Super simple. It is really super simple, y'all. Don't like I said, don't be nefarious and like try to get around some stuff. Be honest. Don't sign an affidavit and oh well, I'm going to. No, don't do that. Be honest. The affidavit was just, hey, do you have plumbing installed? Do you have 110 electrical? Stuff like that. You do have to get a VIN verification, which is really simple. If you've got a police officer friend or if you've got somebody else, police department, notary, I believe can do it. Maybe you're wrong on that, but pretty sure a notary can to sign off on that VIN number. So with that being said, that DOT friend, let's circle back to that for just a second. But that DOT friend, he actually friend of his bought a school bus, could not get it transferred over to a motorhome because their DMV was just acting absolutely silly about it. So I don't know what's up with that. I've got the stuff from the DOT. I sent it to him. I was like, hey, man, this is what's up, and I hope that suffices as far as some of the ins and outs of the insurance. Like I said, it was an absolute crazy mess for us to try to get the insurance. It was not fun. It was the biggest thing, and it almost cost us even the dream of a Prevost. Absolutely, almost cost us because, like I said, I started looking up J4500s, and I didn't want a J4500. I wanted a Prevost for a myriad of reasons, and I keep using that word. Sorry. But the one is the dash. You look at entertainer coaches, they don't even change the dash out most of the time. Sometimes they'll put, paint it or put some leather. But all in all, those coaches just look good, especially in the front side of it, the driver's area. They're just classy. Things just look good. And I knew that's one thing I wouldn't have to like tear out. So that's the ins and outs. That's our story about how we acquired the coach and the biggest pain in the butt, which was insurance. If you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I need a few more subscribers. Really need some watch hours, but whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate everything. Thank you for the love and support. Some of you guys are on here every time, and it means a lot. It means so much. Till next time, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. God bless y'all. Praying for you guys. It's a blessing to be a part of a community. Ooh, better not. Thanks, guys. Bonus footage. That was a not so fun ending. I told you it wasn't scripted. Anyway, guys, thank y'all so much. Really do appreciate it. I'm gonna go turn these lights off in this coach. I can't wait to go back on the road again because I'm itching. We actually did an oil sample, a little bonus footage or a little bonus knowledge. We actually did an oil sample here recently, and I may chop this up and put it into a short. But I was kind of worried about diesel in the oil. if you saw my little short from one of the first shorts, growing oil, right? You know that you can actually get fluids in your oil. It's kind of a big deal. I was worried about diesel. Y'all, the oil sample come back borderline perfect in my opinion. I no complaints, no diesel. So I told my wife, I'm like, hey, let's go to California. Maybe not because the fuel would be out the rear end right now. But thank y'all for watching. Catch y'all soon.